Bismillah, salatu, salamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today I am going to discuss about green energy versus plastic energy. What is plastic energy? When I discuss this issue term, it will be clear what I really mean about plastic energy. Plastic here is actually metaphor. CO2 is the breathing food of trees and plants. We cannot just eliminate CO2 altogether. Then plants will not survive. When plants doesn't survive, our food does not come. As simple as this. So what is the acceptable or normal amount of CO2? It depends how many trees we have and so on. The normal atmospheric CO2 level is about 400 ppm. ppm stands for parts per million. Plants can benefit from higher level of CO2 up to a certain point. The ideal range of maximum plant growth is between 1000 ppm and 1000 and a half ppm. Some plants can show a positive response up to 1800 ppm. That does not mean that we should have 1800 or 1500 ppm. As you can see, normally we have like 400 ppm CO2. The current concentration of CO2 is about 421 ppm parts per million. Excessive. Above 2000 ppm, CO2 becomes toxic to plants. Above 5000 ppm, CO2 becomes harmful for people. Excess CO2. The excess CO2 in the environment annually is the amount of CO2 that human activities emit into the atmosphere that exceeds the amount that natural process can remove. Humanity dumped 37.5 billion tons of CO2 into the atmosphere in 2020. Now it is 2023. The data I collected is 2020. Reference Global Carbon Project. The excess CO2 in the environment annually is about 2 parts per million or 16 billion tons of CO2. That's about 0.016 gigatons. It sounds a lot. We will see how lot it is. Arabia will be green again. Before I discuss the remaining of this presentation, here I quote a open secret hadith. Arabic text is easily verifiable. You can Google search. Abu Huraira reported Allah's messengers, peace be upon him, saying, the last hour, that means end of time, will not come before wealth becomes abundant and overflowing, so much so that a man takes zakat, means mandatory charity, out of his property and cannot find anyone to accept it from him, till the land of Arabia reverts to meadows and rivers. So in this hadith, it has been foretold during the end of time. So Middle Eastern deserts will turn to meadows and rivers. There will be plenty of greens and rivers. This is another source. It is not an hadith, it is a interpretation of Quranic text by a renowned scholar named Ibn Kathir. Iram is a city. It was built by Ad. Ad a was a Arabic speaking community. Iraq, they built this city built by Ad between Mecca and Syria was fertile and green. Today we don't see those amount of fertility and greens. Ibn Qasir says Ad built the city Iram in a land that had many rivers, valleys, mountains and trees of all types and colors. They were very powerful but oppressive. Corruption, spreading corruption in the land. They denied the signs of Allah when and rejected Allah's messenger. So Allah sent upon them a violent wind that lasted for 7 nights and 8 days. It tore, it tore them and their dwellings apart, threw them into the air. They became like with withered, they dry, withered, rotten stems of dead palms. This tafsir shows that the Arabian desert between Mecca and Syria was once a land of rivers, valleys, mountains, and trees, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, destroyed because of mankind's this here Ad, the because of the corruption and rejection of the community Ad. The case of Saudi Arabia alone. The total area of Saudi desert is about 2.3 million square kilometers, which covers most of the Arabian Peninsula. The number of trees per acre, if the distance between rows of trees is 10 feet and the distance between trees is 5 feet, 871.2 trees can be planted per acre. The number of trees per square kilometer is then 871.2 times 0.00404686, which is equal to 3.526. Therefore, in around 2.3 million square kilometers. There can be 3.5 to 6 times 2.3 times 10 to the power 6, that is 8.1098 times 10 to the power 6 trees. 10 to the power 6 is million. CO2 absorption by trees. A typical tree can absorb around 21 kilograms of CO2 per year. So the new trees in Saudi deserts turned green can absorb 0.17 gigatons of CO2, that is 8.1098 times 10 to the power 6 times 21 divided by 10 to the power 9. In slide 4 above, we have seen the excess CO2 annually was 0.06 gigaton. At that time, it seemed a lot. Now we can see the new trees from Saudi desert turned green alone can absorb as much as 10.64 times of excess CO2 annually from the environment. Saudi desert alone. So, which energy is greener or more manageable? Fossil fuel. Trees and plants do need CO2 for survival, as we have seen above, mentioned above, we know. Fossil fuel has been already in the environment naturally. Nature can easily transform burnt fossil fuel emission back to their natural agents. We can turn desert to greens. On the other hand, battery energy. This battery I mentioned plastic. Why? Because the batteries are charged by fossil fuel mostly. So by using battery powered equipments, vehicles, there is no actually savings or reduction in emission of CO2. On top, batteries turns to plastic like pollutants which nature cannot easily turn them back to natural agents, and they are also hazardous. Batteries require rare materials, rare earth, which are supposed to be rare. Like in your body, you cannot just keep on consuming fat or protein or salt or sodium, even though they are necessary, but in a certain amount of proportions. So these rare materials exist in certain proportion of amount, so that there is a balance. So once this battery manufacturer starts synthetically mass producing these rare materials, that will jeopardize the ecosystem. Conclusion. We can absorb much more excess CO2 from the environment that comes from the fossil fuel use by greening deserts. Plants and trees need CO2 anyway. Nature can easily process the emission back to natural agents compared to the plastic like pollutants that battery generates. Combustion technology can be changed to reduce emission. Greening desert will also produce more foods and ensure food security. So, what is the call for action? Increase research and development. Increase your research and development as to how deserts can be turned green, and that is possible as evidenced by the hadith quoted above, that it is going to happen. Turn deserts green and secure food as well at the same time. Hopefully, this invites more thoughts on this subject. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.